meetings in Washington, D.C. Finance and economy correspondent Cliff Ayoze reports.
Discussants described infrastructure as key to the growth and development of nations like Nigeria, with global infrastructure development requiring $1.5 trillion annually, and Nigeria already sourcing for $1 billion through Eurobond for infrastructure development. The minister said this is the time to invest in Nigeria, especially with good governance already being provided by the present administration.
Infrastructure in Africa, in particular, does have returns. It does have attractive long-term returns. Africa can no longer just be seen as this great market that the world wants to come and sell finished goods to. We cannot continue that way. It's not good for you, the rest of the world, and it's not good for us. So that public-private partnership, I think, has to extend across international borders.
Public-private partnership, adapting energy mix, bankable projects, and regulatory framework were other issues raised as necessary to fast-track development.
Get the external finance, how to promote the private investment, and we have several tools, the policy advice and technical assistance.
If we want to have large European pension funds to be able to invest in infrastructure in Africa and Asia, the project has to be very tightly managed.
With huge infrastructure deficit affecting most nations of the world, including Nigeria, and Nigeria getting it right in the area of governance, most nations and development partners are buying into the dream of Nigeria to invest in infrastructure and reposition her economy. From Washington, D.C., Cliff Ayoze, NTA News.
And in response to the IMF's alarm over rising global debt, Minister of Finance Kemi Adosho reassured the international community that any money borrowed will be strictly used for what it is meant. That is, checking deficits in economic development. Again, Cliff Ayoze had the report.
Global debt is at record high and rising. A survey of 130 nations, including Nigeria, put global debt of non-financial sector at $152 trillion as at 2015. About two-thirds, or 100 trillion naira, is the debt of the private sector, while the public sector increased from 70 to 85% in the last 15 years. The International Monetary Fund warns that high debt levels could lead to financial crisis if borrowed funds are not applied wisely.
One needs to have policies which are appropriate for now and will deliver stability, sustainable and inclusive growth from a long-term perspective.
Nigeria's 2017 budget projection of 6.9 trillion naira in an effort to redirect spending to capital expenditure. Low revenue from oil has made it imperative for Nigeria to borrow. With the International Monetary Fund acknowledging rising debt levels among nations of the world and the need to invest properly when funds are borrowed, what is Nigeria doing in that direction?
It's not a question of the quantum of debt, it's what did you use the debt for? We are borrowing now for infrastructure. If we borrow for a road that you have for 40 years, I don't think it's a problem. If I borrow to go for training, that's a problem.
A comprehensive, consistent and coordinated approach in relation to monetary, fiscal and structural policies, the IMF says, remains the way forward. In Washington, D.C., Cliff Ayoze, NTA News.
Let's now pan to the National Assembly, from where the Senate, in a committee of the whole, considered and passed 13 concurrent bills on Thursday, the highest number recorded in a single day this session. Waziri Zayanu reports that 5 additional bills were also presented for first reading.
Reports that went through third reading and subsequent passage include that of the Joint Committee on Science, Technology and Defense. Intention of adopting this bill is to confirm Nigeria's superiority in defense capability, regional power and secured national assets with a view to making the country safer and violence-free.
The Joint Committee amended and deleted where necessary those provisions of the bill that are contentious in one way or the other.
Another report considered and passed is that of the bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme Fund. This is meant to strengthen existing legal framework that give banks the incentives to channel more credit to the agri sector.
The purpose of the fund is to provide guarantee in respect of loans granted by any bank for agricultural purposes.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Nigerian Independent Warehouse Regulatory Agency and other related matters, presented by Senator Sam Egu, was also passed.
This bill seeks to A.
Establish the Nigerian Independent Warehouse Regulatory Agency to regulate the operations of licensed warehouse and to provide a regulatory framework for trading in warehouse receipts.
The Senate also concurs with the House of Representatives' earlier resolution to invite President Muhammadu Buhari to address a joint session of the National Assembly and intimate the lawmakers on plans to get the country out of recession. This is with a view to enabling the Assembly take further legislative action. Outside plenary, the Senate President has assured Market Traders Union of Nigeria on courtesy call that the National Assembly is passing bills that will truly stabilize the economy and help the citizenry. Leader of the union, Remigius Ani, said as sellers and dealers of perishable and non-perishable goods, they came to solicit cooperation in ameliorating incessant increase in prices of commodities with a view to restoring confidence in Nigerians. From the National Assembly, Wazir Zayan, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives is to investigate alleged unlawful sale of transformers to consumers of electricity by distribution companies, contrary to the provisions of the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act 2005. The legislators also resolved to investigate alleged undue charges on cash transactions by commercial banks. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
The Electricity Power Sector Reform Act of 2005 mandates distribution companies to provide transformers and ensure efficient power distribution in Nigeria. But allegations of consumers paying for transformers has persisted, as moved by Representative Garba Mohammed from Kano State.
To effect a purposeful representation of the teeming Nigerian electricity consumers whose rights have suffered gross violation by the electricity distribution companies.
The House stressed the need for the federal government to intensify efforts at repatriating Nigeria's $458 million looted money forfeited to the United States, as moved by Johnson Aboniman from Edo State.
People are suffering. Our money is outside there.
Legislatively, we can interface with the AGF. Maybe it can hasten the process of us demonstrating to the U.S. government that these are the areas in which the money will be deployed. And then the money can now be given to Nigeria. But right now, it's forfeited by court order to the U.S. government, the entire money.
A motion on the need for a national carrier for Nigeria by Rep. Asabe Velita Bashir from Borno State was adopted.
That some of the foreign airlines have closed operation in the Nigerian route, while others have increased their fares.
Members urged the Inspector General of Police to immediately commence the process of rescuing 2 principals and students of Lagos Model College kidnapped by unknown gunmen on 6th of October. The House has concurred with the Senate, rejecting the proposed sale of national assets, and urged the Executive to present to the National Assembly a blueprint to address the current economic challenges in Nigeria. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
This is NTA News Panorama. We now take a break. The news continues in a moment. Stay.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Welcome back. The Federal Minister of Information and Culture's Change Begins With Me campaign train has arrived in Nigeria's corporate sector in Lagos. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the idea is to bring on board sectorally all segments of society to understand the strategic role expected of them for the campaign to succeed. Anthony Forson reports.
The private sector, no doubt, has a critical role to play in nation building. And for any nation to get its developmental strides right, it must carry along its private sector. It is in this light that Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says corporate organizations must key into the Change Begins With Me campaign for maximum impact.
Indeed, when the campaign succeeds, it will impact heavily on the private sector.
Lai Mohammed stated that those bent on discrediting the campaign should exercise restraints, as government, he maintained, will not be blackmailed to scale down.
It is important to say here that the use of force is not part of the tools to achieve the goal of Change Begins With Me. Moral suasion rather than force.
Director General National Orientation Agency Malam Garba Abari noted that correcting the moral decay in the society is an enormous task. But government, he said, is on track.
The campaign is expected to herald a new set of acceptable attitudes, values, and behavior. These are all capable of taking Nigeria to greater heights.
For Vincent Anigbogun of the Institute of National Transformation and all those who spoke at the unveiling ceremony, they showered encomium on the minister for the concept, saying Nigeria indeed needs the change campaign. The Change Begins With Me campaign partnership responsibility was equally launched. 200 million naira for platinum partnership. This will earn the sponsors, official partners of the campaign with unlimited naming and branding rights, as well as a reciprocal airtime in the same amount on NTA and FRCN for 1 year. There is gold, diamond, and channel partnerships. All these categories have their specific rights and reciprocal airtime on NTA and FRCN attached to them. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Making consistent effort rather than not trying to read has been described as a driving force for an individual to become literate and knowledgeable. This is the outcome of the 2016 Independence Reading Festival, put together by the Federal Ministry of Education and the Explorers Reading Club in Abuja. Abdullahi Musa Suleja has the story.
Analysts observe that as important as education is, reading is the basics through which knowledge can be acquired. This brings about the effort by the Federal Ministry of Education, Explorers Reading Club, and Jerry Agada Reading Foundation to highlight the importance of the feat for what is described as a better society. All those in attendance took turn to read a page each in a 40-page book titled Nigeria, Our Country, written by Clarice Ujam, an assistant director in the ministry and coordinator of the Explorers Reading Club.
Let us try, because when we try, and don't be ashamed to try, because it's only by trying that you can do better. We need to take it to our households, in the marketplaces.
When you read, you will be resourceful. You will be empowered.
You know, since this high advocacy of reading, you discover that the mass failures we have in our, public exams are becoming a thing of the past. This is because before you answer questions in any given exam, to be able to pass, you should read comprehensively. When you read that question, you understand it, then you will be able to design a solution within you. That is the magic of reading.
You will advance. And when you read, you will develop. So for us to get to that greater height, either as individuals or as a society, we need to go back to reading.
The Reading Festival can also be understood within the context of promoting the teaching of history in primary and secondary schools for young Nigerians to know much more about Nigeria. In Abuja, Abdullahi Musa Suleja, NTA News.
The first earth tremor in Nigeria was experienced in 1984, and since then minor tremors had been recorded, but most prominent were the recent ones in Hayimajina in Kaduna State, which reawakened the consciousness of Nigerians and the possibility of a major earthquake in the country. Science correspondent Kiran Omayo reports that the Center for Geodesy and Geodynamics, while providing explanations on the issue, also reported earth tremors in Bayelsa and the Oyo states.
Although Nigeria may not be located in the known active regions of the world, but the new development, according to scientists, has made researchers believe that the cause of the tremors in Nigeria could be natural or tectonic activities and anthropogenic-induced seismicity through man-made activities.
These incidents did not only change the age-long perception as to whether Nigeria is seismically active, it does also pave a way for the new thinking and new focus on the occurrence of earth tremors in West Africa's largest country.
Director of Center for Geodesy and Geodynamics, Dr. Yakubu Tahir Abubakar, said there is need to acquire the necessary equipment for effective monitoring of earth movements across the country.
Actually, Koi is sitting on an intrusion, a rock that came out of a fault line. And because of that, at a particular time, there will be settling. So when it is trying to settle between these fracture lines, then that settling will release pressure. And this is something that it is going to be continuous until it gets a very good stability.
That of Bayelsa, yes, we cannot actually say because our equipment did not record it. What we saw there actually made us to feel that, yes, probably it was an earthquake.
The damage caused by the earthquake ranged from cracks of walls of buildings, falling down of ceilings, collapse of mud houses, and cutting of roads, just as in some Bayelsa State communities. In Abuja, Kiran Omayo, NTA News.
And to sports now, Kene Mabodike brings us more.
A brace by Arsenal player Alex Iwobi and a goal from Anderson City of Ghent FC of Belgium gave Super Eagles 3-0 victory over Premier League club side Plateau United in a friendly match played at the main bowl of the Abuja National Stadium Wednesday. The match was put together to ascertain the fitness of the invited players for the 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifier against Zambia in Ndola on Sunday. 6 home-based and 17 foreign-based players took part in the friendly. After 2 days break from the ongoing FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Jordan, action resumes on Friday as New Zealand entertained host Jordan in one of Group A final preliminary round matches. Meanwhile, on Saturday, Nigeria file out for a make-or-mar match against Korea Democratic People's Republic. Brazil entertained England. Japan battle United States of America as Paraguay confronts Ghana. Members of the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, ANAN, Thursday had a 10-kilometer walk and jog exercise along major streets of Abuja as part of activities to mark the 21st Annual Conference of Certified National Accountants. The Walk for Economic Diversification, which commenced from the International Conference Center, took participants through Shehu Yaradua Federal Secretariat before terminating at the NTA headquarters in Gariki, where they were received by the NTA's Executive Director of Finance and Administration, Philip Ofebu.
We are always ready to help the federal government in seeing to it that the right thing is done.
Over 200 ANAN members participated in the exercise. With Sports Update, Keneng Imabodike, NTA News.
Well, that's NTA News Panorama for this day. Thanks for watching.